So last you guys saw, we were broken down on the side of the road with a smoking hunk of metal where our wheel and tire used to be.
Yep, we had a blowout. Cool.
Straight cruising, headed for a bruising, watching out for number one. You gotta slow down and look around you, son. Today is just today and not tomorrow. Where you're going, you can rest your head. Where you're going, brightness looks big. Where you're going, truth cannot be hid. You gotta get going. Easy now. You gotta get going. Easy now. Be hard working so you can be deserving of the rest that you are given. You gotta slow down and look around you, son. Give a lot and live a little. Work with what you got. Where you're going, you can rest your
I've been filming just intermittently every day or so since my parents left. They left Friday morning around 9 a.m. and it is currently Sunday morning. So just kind of filming here and there, basically just grabbing B-roll to create this vlog. Today is going to be a busy day for Stuart and I. We are going to church with his parents in probably about half an hour or so. And then when we get back from that, there's a few things that we need to do. Stuart needs to change the oil on his truck. I need to organize some things around the RV. We got all those water jugs that you saw in the last video, so I need to get those cleaned up a little bit and then fill them. And then other than that, basically just battening down the hatches, doing some laundry, and then getting ready to hit the road tomorrow. And so then tomorrow we're going to be heading to Amarillo, Texas. That's going to be our first stop. And then after that, onward into the into the great blue north. So it's really exciting because we've been putting all this work and preparation for months now into doing this trip, and we're about to finally reap the rewards of all of our hard work, which is really, really exciting. So that's kind of where everything is at right now, but I wanted to hop on and give a quick update. I've been trying to do a style of vlog where I don't talk as much. I kind of just show what's happening, and I hope that you guys like that because I find it a whole lot easier as a content creator. It kind of takes the stress off of me having to talk a whole bunch, and I like that style of video, so I hope that you guys do too. But that's basically where we're at, and the vlog continues, and so does our journey. It's all really, really exciting.
little box seats. You can see the board for the horses to play,
In all the hustle and bustle of the day, I totally forgot to mention that today is Independence Day. So happy 4th wherever you are. And we are gonna go up on the dam and watch fireworks. We even got ourselves some drinks. So we're gonna kick back in our chairs and watch the show. So come on, let's go. You ready? A really good source of like omegas. What was that?
a fucking tire? Is that ours?
Did we lose one?
Yep, we had a blowout.
We have no idea how this happened. And it's the axle that we just got repaired, the strong one, the good one. Stuart's going to retrieve our tire, and then we have to figure out next steps because we're kind of in the middle of nowhere, and I don't know what we're gonna do yet. So last you guys saw, we were broken down on the side of the road with a smoking hunk of metal where our wheel and tire used to be. And a lot has happened since then. It's been about a week, so I want to catch everybody up to speed. I couldn't film throughout this entire experience. I know that some people probably could. That's just not how I roll. It was such a stressful experience for all parties involved, and the idea of trying to film and create coherent content through that was just beyond me. So I set the camera down, I decided I'd come back to it at a later date, and now here we are. So here's a rough condensed timeline of everything that has happened since our breakdown on the side of the highway in the middle of nowhere. So Stuart went to go look for our tire, and I got left with the responsibility of notifying family, which is always fun. But as Stuart was looking around, and I'm thinking to myself, here we are in the middle of nowhere, in between two towns, like there's nothing around but farmland, Stuart calls me and says that literally half a mile from where we broke down, where he's standing is an RV park. I don't know what the odds of that are, but there it was, and it was called the Shining Star RV Park, which I just think is incredibly ironic because it quite literally was a shining star in the darkness for us at that moment. I don't know what we would have done if we hadn't had that place to settle down in for the time that we needed to figure out what we were going to do. And so we ended up calling them, and they were the kindest people. It was a husband and wife duo that had owned the place for about a year and a half. It was like a retirement project for them. And they said, yeah, come on in, we'll give you a site. Like, you can pretty much take whichever site you want. Like, do what you got to do. We're so sorry this happened to you. And they even helped us look for our tire, which miraculously we ended up finding because it had bounced like a football field's length off of the highway and was over next to some farmer's barn somewhere. We have no idea how it got thrown that far. I guess just the force of the explosion blew it over there. And then the husband came and like helped Stuart look at what was left of our tire and hub and everything, and tried to brainstorm ideas for what we could do. So near as we can tell, this is what happened. Whenever we got that axle replaced, and if you remember from the vlog previously, we had gotten it replaced because our original axle had gotten bent, and so the trailer place that we took it to shortened a regular trailer axle so that it would fit underneath our RV. And as far as we can tell, what probably happened was whenever they got done, they didn't grease things up like they should have, and they may have tightened some things more than they should have. And so over time, with heat and friction and everything building up, it was basically just a matter of time until everything blew apart, which is exactly what happened. It really sucks because it probably would never have happened if the guys' mechanics had done their job correctly, but that's usually just the way it goes. You end up paying for somebody not taking the time or having the knowledge to do a job correctly, and that's what happened here. So here we were, and we had to figure out what we were going to do moving forward. Luckily, like I said, we had this RV park, so we had water and we had electricity, so we were okay. After that, and after we got settled there, it was basically a mad scramble of trying to figure out, okay, what do we need to do and how are we going to accomplish it? Because as you are already well aware, RV axles aren't just floating around free and easy to find, and the nearest one to us at that time, and still when this happened, was in Idaho, and it was a 6-week wait to order one and have one shipped to you. So that was a timetable that we didn't even want to have to think about dealing with, because that would just ruin a lot of our plans and a lot of our life in general. So we started calling businesses in the 2 towns on either side of where we broke down, and it was a little bit tricky trying to find somebody who wanted to work with us, either A, because they didn't have time, or B, because there were a lot of liability concerns, because people, for some reason, trailer places and like businesses that don't traditionally work on RVs oftentimes don't want to, because there can be liability issues there for them if something would fail, and a lot of places didn't want to just make us a new axle because that can be a liability issue for them if like a weld fails or something. So that was a little bit tricky, but we ended up buying a brand new axle, not a used one like what we had gotten in Nacogdoches, but a brand new trailer axle. And then we found a welder locally who was willing to shorten it for us, and he did a really, really good job. And then we installed it on the RV ourselves so that nobody had any liability and something going wrong with the installation or anything. And we ended up buying 4 new tires for the RV because, come to find out, the tires that we had were just a little bit too big, and we ended up needing to replace one anyway because when it blew off and bounced away, one of the bands inside broke, so we couldn't reuse it anyway. So we got new tires put on, we installed the new axle, and then we took it back to the trailer place that we had bought the new axle from, and they looked over everything, serviced our pre-existing axle, made sure that everything was good to go, and basically went from there. So that is a very condensed version of what took about 5 days to work out, and it was a lot of long days, a lot of frustration, but the really incredible thing that I've come away from this experience with is how genuinely kind and good and helpful most people are. I mean, first you had the people at the Shining Star RV Park who were just incredible throughout the entire thing. I mean, they could have seen our RV and the damage that had been done and been like, yeah, no, we don't want you here. But they didn't do that. They were more than willing to let us crash there when we needed a place. And then even though these businesses and the towns didn't want to take on the work that we needed done, we found out after the fact, whenever we finally got to the business that we bought the axle from, that all of these businesses had been calling each other after we called them, trying to figure out a way to help us, which is really incredible. And I don't think I've ever had an experience like that anywhere else. So yes, it was incredibly challenging. Yes, it was terrible, but I came away from it really appreciating how good most people genuinely are. And even more so than that, throughout the entire thing, from the second shit hit the fan until we were on our way again, because that is how this story ends, in case you were wondering, we were able to hit the road. I felt very, very calm. Like, yes, it was terrible, and I didn't know what we were going to do next, and I didn't know where help was going to come from or where we were going to get the resources that we needed, but I just had this conviction and this feeling that everything was going to be okay. And I carried that with me throughout that entire week. And I don't know where that came from. I can only imagine or guess or hypothesize that it was God or whatever you want to call it, but either way, I just knew that everything was going to be okay, and I had faith in that, and that ended up being the case, which is really cool too. So here we are. It's been a week. We beat feet out of Texas after that, mainly just, I think, to put space between ourselves and everything that had happened, also to get to a cooler climate, because with our solar system we can't use the AC, so it'd be cool not to have to sweat to death every single evening. And so we spent 2 good days driving. We drove from where we broke down, which was in Gatesville, Texas, on the edge of the hill country, for anyone who's curious. We drove from there to Amarillo, and then from Amarillo we drove up to Dodge City, Kansas, which is where we are at right now. And it's been a time, but I don't think that the challenge was a bad thing to go through. I mean, it was terrible, but, you know, things happen, and you have to be able to roll with it and figure out a solution and figure out how to get yourself out of it, because nobody's going to come in and rescue you. You have to be willing to reach out for that help, and that's what we did, and here we are. So I know that this is not a conventional vlog. I don't have enough footage to make a conventional vlog because, like I said, I just couldn't, even with trying to film or anything like that. But I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it all up here, just because I'm ready to end this chapter, and I'm ready to move on to the next thing, whatever that may be, the next challenge, the next disaster, the next adventure, whatever, however you want to think of it, I'm ready to get to that. I think that this is as good a time as any to do that. So that's the story. We had a lot of people helping us and a lot of people praying for us. It was a crazy experience. And that's really all that I can say about it. So anyway, that is the video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them. If I missed something or something seemed foggy for you, I can probably clarify it better that way. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Oh, and I guess I was doing like reflections and things at the ends of all of the vlogs. I think the reflection that I'm being left with this time is just that people are good. People are good, and when you give them a chance, you really get to see that. And that's a pretty cool thing. So anyway, super scattered. I'm all over the place. But, yeah, this is the video. I'll see you for the next one. Thanks for being here. Bye.
I can live my life.